Welcome back to another episode of the Zuriel Show. Today's episode, you're all in for a special treat. Episode 21, featuring Elma Akob. Elma, introduce yourself to the people. Simply, take us through who you are, your journey, and about yourself.
Awesome. First of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm honored and excited to be here. As you said, my name is Elma Akob. I'm a 21-year-old Cameroonian-born individual who is living in South Africa. I'm a communication strategist, a voiceover artist, and a presenter, currently studying a communication management degree for honors. That's a basic overview of who I am.
Lovely stuff, Elma. And one thing maybe a lot of you don't know about Elma is she's genuinely one of the even just as I was going through her profile on LinkedIn, someone I'm actually inspired myself about. Elma, could you just tell the people, why you chose to take the path of communications? What inspired you to go down that path?
So I believe that the world, the world as a whole, intricately is put together through stories, through communication and through stories.
Yeah.
So for example, the way Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie puts it is she says, the problem with the stereotype is not that it is untrue, but that it is incomplete. It makes one story the only story. And so I believe that a number of the problems that we face in the world is because one story has been made to be the single story. And thus me following this path of communications as a communication strategist is that I want to unpack people's stories. I want people to have the platforms in which to have their voices heard, and those who cannot speak be the voice for them. And so conversations, communications as a whole, I think is what makes the world go around. How you present yourself, how leaders present themselves to their followers, etc, etc. So I believe that conversations and communications just really plays an intricate role in how the world is run.
Lovely stuff. I'm personally curious. You're a very powerful figure in terms of how you present yourself, how you talk, and overall communicate, which is something people in our generation, your generation Z, really lack. And a big part of that is to do with, the whole aspect of imposter syndrome, where you don't feel or believe that you're good enough. Is that something that the imposter syndrome, is that something that you've tackled, that you've gone through within your career, or the phase? Talk to me about that.
I'll be 100% honest with you. I've always felt like I don't have the opportunity to have imposter syndrome. I don't have the opportunity. I don't have the I don't even want to say the time, but it's not a privilege that's been granted to me. There's no time to feel like I'm inadequate, because things need to be done and things need to be done right now.
Yes.
And so with imposter syndrome, it's just one of those mental things that I've always told myself. If you want to be the best, you must first believe that you are. And once you have that belief, once you have that understanding, once it's in your mind, then you'll be able to communicate that to others. So I personally have not struggled with imposter syndrome, just because right from the beginning, excuse me, right from the beginning, I told myself that I was the best and that I was going to be the best. And so, but when it comes to encouraging other young people who are struggling with this, I do that a lot as a motivational speaker.
Lovely stuff. From my point of view, when I did my very first TEDx talk, I'm telling you, I was shaking to my boots. It was my very first time giving a talk in front of a fairly large audience. And what happened was, maybe just to give you a bit of some insight, what happened was I was giving a 40 minutes allocation time to talk. And then on the day of talking, they told us, hey, we have a new speaker who's been brought in, and unfortunately your time has been, cut down to 7 minutes. I'm telling you, that day, that day, imposter syndrome, I understood it to the core. But moving on, I'd really love to know, take me through your most memorable achievements within your career or nominations that were worthwhile celebrating.
Yeah. So I believe that as young people, especially, we ought to celebrate every achievement, be it small or big. Every victory is a victory that ought to be celebrated. But one that I would say is my most memorable by far is when I was 16. I had the opportunity to go to the United Nations and represent the African continent at the United Nations Global Young Leaders Conference. There were about 169 different young people from countries all around the world, I think about 50 or more countries. And we were sitting down and we were discussing the issues that we as young people were facing, as well as giving UN resolutions to actual members of the United Nations.
Yeah.
And what happened was there was a whole process to choosing who would be the chairperson of the Youth UN, sort of. And
Yeah.
we had, I mean, it was a short period of time. We had known each other for about 2 days. So for me to be elected by all the other 169 students and then to be put in the position as the chairperson of the Youth UN was quite an incredible achievement for me, because it just means, you know what they say about your first interaction, your first impression has such a
Yes.
powerful thing. And I
Yeah.
managed to grasp the attention of 169 individuals through first impression, or by, through them hearing about me from each other. So that was really incredible, just to be able to speak, and then also receiving a standing ovation after presenting my speech at the UN headquarters was something that I will remember for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Not only representing your country, your family, but the continent as a whole. Very proud of you, and my congratulations are in order. I'd like to know, with your speech, I believe the title was Dare to Dream. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, what did you maybe briefly summarize? What did you talk about that, captured the attention of, the audience as a whole?
So with my speech title Dare to Dream, which was coming from being a young person, as well as coming from an African background, where young people, I feel, have to work twice as hard, probably 3 times as
Yeah.
hard as anyone else in the rest of the world. So it was me telling young people that it is our duty and responsibility to dare to dream big, to dare to dream now. And even when your dream does not become a reality, make that reality your dream. I think the only time that we will be able to overcome what it is that we are struggling on the continent is when we start seeing beyond the continent, when we start seeing the future that we would like to have. It all starts
Yes.
in the mind at the end of the day. Once you
Yes.
envision it, once you can visualize it, once you can dream about it, then you can attain it.
Yes.
I think what really hinders our growth is the fact that we're not even dreaming. As young people, we're not even striving. We've reached that point where it's just, as long as I can, finish this, get a job, get married, I'm happy. As long as, and it's very sad, because as Africans, our dreams have been hindered and have been almost reduced to only what
Yeah.
we can see in front of us. And I think it's so
Yes.
important that our minds are able to be opened so that we can dare to dream.
Very powerful words, and I couldn't agree more with the whole aspect of when you dream. That's only when this wild and bodacious, at the moment, what seems bodacious at the time, can be
Yeah.
accomplished. Take me through university. What are some challenges that you encountered, that you faced, that you feel were worthwhile stepping stones to what you're doing and who you are right now?
Mm. So I would even go a little bit further back before university, because I've been in South Africa for 13 years now, which means I've lived in South Africa longer than I've lived in Cameroon. And I
Yeah.
don't know what you've heard, but in South Africa, the friendliness towards foreigners is not really the best. And so
Yeah.
even though I've lived in this country for 13 years, which is more than I've lived in my home country, and you'll
Yeah.
hear this from any international that is in South Africa, I've never really been able to see it as home, because I've never really been welcomed into it as home. There's always
Mm.
that barrier of, because you weren't born here, because you don't speak the language,
Yeah.
this really isn't your place. And so the struggles that I've had to deal with as an international student is finding my place, finding where it is that I fit. My parents moved back home when I was just 16 years old. So I had to live in South Africa as an individual, an independent individual. And so
Mm.
finding myself, finding where I fit in, juggling academics whilst being alone in a foreign country were just a couple of struggles that I had to deal with. And to go a little bit deeper into that, so because I'm from Cameroon, Cameroon is known for being home to over 250 languages. So the main languages of communication are English, French, or Pidgin English. And because of that, our parents thought that it would be great for us to really be well versed in the English language. So we went to British classes, and we learned as much English as we could. They were too busy to teach us the vernacs of, their home languages, my mom's home language and my dad's home language. Now, coming to South Africa, there's languages per province. So if you live in KwaZulu-Natal, you are required to, as a Black person, speak Zulu. And I, being an English speaker and living in an English home, was not able to really communicate well in Zulu. So automatically you are separated from the rest of the community. Automatically you are removed from everything that makes you Black because you don't speak the language. So if I don't speak the language here in South Africa, and I can't speak my mother tongue back at home, and I speak English, a little bit of French, then it's almost like, where do you belong? So it's just that whole idea of linguistics and finding my place. But I've come to realize that I'm a Pan-African citizen, which means I'm a citizen of Africa as a whole. And through that, I'm not going to be bound to one country.
Oh, very powerful stuff. And maybe something I actually did not know is that Cameroon has 250 languages. That's something I'm learning for the very first time. Kenya, where I'm from, Yoruba Kenya, my home, we have 47 different languages, and I can't even imagine 250. Powerful stuff.
Yeah, and with only 25 million people, so it's a lot of languages for a very small country. Yeah.
Wow. And something also that popped up in my head as you're going on about South Africa that I can relate to it as well. I have a cousin who a couple of years back did some work in South Africa, and he described the hostility in which the locals had towards him just for being a Kenyan, not being a local. And that's something as well that hinders the growth of Africa as a whole, in which we'd rather work with European, let me not say Europeans per se, but people from outside rather than building our own and working with our own.
Most certainly. And this is also one of the reasons why I decided to, branch into communications and conversation strategy, because I felt it my responsibility to tell the other story of internationals and foreign nationals in South Africa, because it seemed there's just a one-dimensional story that they have.
Powerful stuff, and really learning a lot as well, not just to do with you, but the content as a whole. Now, take me through what keeps you inspired and motivated, on the days when nothing seems to be working out at all, when the effort you're putting in doesn't result to what the end product at the end of the day.
Yeah. So I think what motivates me is, I put it in one word, representation. Now, I say representation because I realize that I'm not living my life for myself, but I'm living my life as a representation for all the young people who are going to come up after me. And so when I was growing up, it was very hard to find Africans to look up to, Africans who were doing, incredible things, young Africans who were doing incredible things. Even in the books and the movies and things that we watched, there was a lack of representation. And so I'm motivated by the fact that I am a representation myself, excuse me, and I have a lot of young people that are going to be looking up to me and are going to be saying that if she can do it, I can do it too. In fact, if she can do it, I can do better. And so I'm motivated every day to live my life in the best way that I possibly can, to be an example, to strive for excellence, because I know that there's a generation that's looking up to me. So I ought to do it for them, not even myself.
Very, very, very thoughtful and articulate. One thing that maybe just to package that up, one thing that I really aspire about you as a whole is your humble demeanor. As much as you've accomplished these different things, you're not one to almost brag and show off, which is the approach a lot of people our age that I see taking. They've achieved some level of success and they're quick, to show off and put that out there. Maybe something a lot, or maybe you've not pointed out that I was really impressed by is I'm currently 20 years old right now. And you actually finished, you pursued and got your degree at the age of 20 years old. Very, very inspiring stuff.
Yes,
Congratulations
I
to you.
did. Thank you very much for that.
Congratulations to you. Now,
Yeah.
to wrap this up, for the very final question of the day, what is one piece of advice if you're able to talk to 15-year-old Elma, give her a phone call or travel back in time? What's that one piece of advice that you would give her?
Mm. Just quickly before I give the advice, I have to say,
Go
in
ahead.
regards to
Go
the
ahead.
humility comment, I just really
Go
want
ahead.
to say that that's all my parents doing. I was
Right.
raised in a very humble home. I think everyone in my family in the next year or two will have their doctorates, and that's my mom, my dad, my two sisters who are 26, 25. In the next 2 years, everyone in the family will have a doctorate. Apart from me, I'm still working to get there. But my dad has raised us up to know that you take everything with two hands, regardless
Yep.
of where you are in life. So the humility thing, I just give that all to my parents for raising me like that. In regards to what I would tell a younger Alma,
Yeah.
I would tell a younger Alma to strive for individuality and not conformity in a world where we are being pushed to conform, whether it be through social media, through what our friends are doing, through media in general, not even just social media, TV, everywhere we go, we are constantly being conformed and squished into a box that we need to fit. And so
Yeah.
I would tell younger Alma, because I remember 15-year-old Alma was really trying to fit in, I would tell her to strive for individuality and not conformity, because it is our individuality that makes us special, that makes us unique, that makes us a
Yes.
light into a world of just, repetitions. There's a quote, I'm not sure who said it, but it says, "Be you because there's no one else who can be a better you." And yeah,
Yes.
that's definitely what I would tell a young Alma.
Lovely and very, very powerful. And just to add on to that as we, wrap it up, I believe
Mm,
individuality, as you rightfully said, it's the foundation of authenticity. You
yeah,
could be inspired by somebody, how they lead, how they run their business, etc., etc. Use it as tools, but then don't just copy and paste that. You might as well just use it as inspiration. But remember,
yes,
your individuality, as
yes,
you rightfully said, is what separates you from the pack and gets some people to see, the difference. Just like you,
mm,
I can really tell not only by how you speak, but just how you present yourself that you are your own individual.
mm.
And yeah, very powerful stuff.
Thank you, thank you. And just to add to that, Emmanuel, I think you've made a pretty a strong point that it is important that we have figures in our life that we are inspired by.
Yes,
Be
yes,
it parents, be it I'm very much inspired by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and I'm not saying that as an individual. You are in your own bubble. Take inspiration. Take inspiration from the greats who have gone before you. Use it as a foundation for you to be yourself. Yeah.
yes. Lovely, lovely piece of advice. Now, I know I said that was the final question, but for the very final question,
Yes.
did you have fun?
Most certainly. Are you saying in my life as a whole or through this conversation?
Yeah, through the conversation, that is, through the
I
conversation.
had
But you
a
can as
lot
well.
of fun. This was great. I really I enjoyed being here. Your questions were great. I love your response. I'm also shocked at the fact that you are 20. Congratulations to you, because
Thank you very
there's
much.
quite a
Thank
few
you.
20-year-olds who are doing what you are doing as well. And
Very
so
humble.
yeah, no,
Thank you.
most certainly congratulations to you. I can see that you are definitely striving for excellence as well, and you've got a bright future ahead of you. So keep doing what you are doing.
Very inspiring and very touching. It means the world coming from you. As I said in the beginning, I went through your profile and I saw you at 21. I almost refused to believe it was a fact. But yes, we need young leaders just like you who will be
Most
driving
certainly.
the nation in the right direction.
And leaders
Right?
like us. Yeah.
Unlike us. Right. Of course. Like us.
Awesome.
Right. Now, as we wrap up the show, is there anything, maybe any final words or thoughts that you feel you'd want to let out as we get to the end of the session?
I think definitely in this environment that we currently are in as
Yeah.
Africans, for the first time ever, we are using social media to speak up
Mm,
against the injustices that are going on in our countries. For the longest time, we have not been able to speak because we have been afraid, and rightfully so.
mm,
There's a lot of our
yes,
leaders who don't necessarily use the law in the right way. And so
yes,
just an encouragement to us that as we have started, let's keep up with the momentum. As we've started to speak up, as we've started to use our voices as Africans and realize that we are so strong as a collective, that there's a lot of us. I mean, if you think about the number of people who have rallied up behind the Nigerian in SARS
Yeah.
and are now rallying up behind, what's happening in Congo, what's happening in Cameroon, what's happening in South Africa. And we realize that we really are a huge population of people and our voices really do matter. Let's keep up with that momentum. Let's keep pushing it forward. Let's not let our voices be dwindled or be silenced. Now that we have started, we've begun the race. And it's a race that's going to take a long time for us to run. But let's not look back, because after this, we cannot go back to the way things used to be in Africa.
Powerful stuff once again. And so a phrase that I'm a big believer in is, as a youth, we're not just the leaders looking to solve, we're not just the leaders of tomorrow looking to solve those problems of tomorrow, but we should be seeking the knowledge and the ideas and the discussions to be solving the problems of today.
That's
Lovely,
true.
lovely having you on the show. Nothing short of inspirational. And absolutely look forward to hopefully doing this once again in the future. Most
Most
definitely, I
certainly.
love.
I'll be here when you send the invite. Thanks for having
Love,
me, Manuel.
absolutely. Let the people know maybe how they can get in touch with you or just follow your journey as a whole.
Sure. I'm one of those people who has very easy social media following. It's just Elma Akob on LinkedIn, and on Instagram as well. It's at Elma Akob, Elma.Akob. So just check me there, and I'd be happy to respond to anyone, offer advice, offer motivation, offer mentorship,
Yeah.
or just have communications with.
Right, you've heard it all. Be sure to reach out to her, at least follow her story. I can firsthand tell you she's definitely, if I'm, telling you this, for a fact, this is an individual who actually inspired me, as I've said twice, by now. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. And for the audience and the listeners for making it all the way to the end, be sure to share this with your friends. Drop a subscribe down below and let us know your thoughts, what you thought of the show. This has been episode 21 of the Zuriel Podcast. Stay blessed. Have an amazing week ahead of you. God bless you all. Goodbye.
Thank you.